one elder said when Canadians or North Americans write, they write on a piece of paper. And he said when Aboriginal people write in a ceremony, they write on the hearts and minds of the people who take part in it. My English name is Moody, and my Squamish name is uts'am. I work with people, I work with the communities. I do things that help communicate a Squamish culture, Squamish worldview. Eventually I found that I was kind of holding up the camera, holding up a notebook between sort of me and the world. And they talk a lot in photography about being a witness to events, as if they're somehow not there, and as if watching it makes things better. And I met older reporters, older photographers, and it bothered me how disconnected they were from themselves, but also from society. I've been seeing some interesting things, but eventually I started working in the downtown east side, actually on a writing project about the people who lived and worked there. And I saw a lot of stuff that scared me, a lot of stuff that I thought someone should do something about that. And I saw a lot of Native people, a lot of Native youth living on the streets there, and I thought I could maybe do something about that. I started working with our youth, and it was very different becoming engaged in the community. And kind of ironically, we became involved in our community with something called the uts'am Witness Project. And it was funny because there was a photographer who was involved. At that point, they met one of our chiefs from Squamish Nation. The one woman was talking about being a witness to the world's events. And from her photography background, our chief really kind of sat up and said, well, we use that word as well, but we use it quite differently. To him it meant a very active role in society. And it also meant making connections, because they wanted more people to become involved in nature, to see the changes that were happening. It was interesting to have people come up to witness the Witness Project, way up the valley in Upper Squamish. And sometimes they'd learn about some of the medicines, and while they were there, they would. A lot of people found a lot of peace in themselves, in nature. They found, I think, different ways to look at medicine, because just being in that area, or the term is poorly defined in Aboriginal culture. It doesn't really translate into English. When I asked my uncle what medicine was, he started explaining. And about 3/4 of the way through the day, he just stopped and said, look, everything's medicine. He said, whether you smile, or give someone a hug, or tell them a story they need, or show them a plant they need, he said, everything's medicine. And the more he thought about it, he said, well, everything in our life was medicine for one thing or another. And sometimes the medicine is very strong, and it's hard on you, and it's really unpleasant. And he said sometimes people don't always survive the medicine they have. And he said sometimes it's very simple. It's very easy, very accessible. One of the stories I'd heard about medicines actually was interesting, because we saw an elder talk once, and she'd come from a remote place, and I don't know what she was doing or where she was going, but she found herself in the downtown east side, and there's a lot of Native people walking in the streets around Main and Hastings. And there's way more people there than the whole place she lives at. So she saw a bunch of Native people living in a really hard way, and was really upset about it. And said that there was cracks in the concrete there, and plants were growing up, and some of them were medicines that the people needed. And the ground had been paved over, but it couldn't stop the medicine from coming up all around people. It's just that they didn't have the teachings to know what it was or how to prepare it. That's a bit of a shame, but it's the plants themselves, the way my grandfather talked about them, the medicine itself, whatever it is. My grandfather would say, you can't just get medicine and it won't heal you. He said, no matter what it is, he said you have to meet it halfway. I think he saw people always looking outside of themselves for their solutions, and he was trying to tell me that that's not going to work. So, we just say medicine in English now, but when I heard my uncles and my grandfather talk about it, it meant something so complex we could never really explain it. The whole journey was, very personal to me, moving from just talking about things to being really engaged in the world, and really finding my own voice to speak up about some of these things and finding my own strength.